In case you missed it, here is week 1 of the NFL preseason. It starts off with the Texans versus the Patriots, 2 powerhouse teams, and CJ Stroud gets a bit of a welcome to the NFL moment. And I guess it could be this painful sack he just endured, but he did say it felt good to get hit. And then it doesn't get better from there. He thinks he sees an open man, and it is intercepted by Jalen Mills. And from there, the wonderful Patriots offense can't do anything, so the Patriots have to kick a field goal. Now, that's not that surprising. It is the Patriots, but Zappe does show that he can throw the ball, and these are still NFL athletes, so there are some nice throws and catches. But then when General Mills goes back in, the Texans go on a roll, and they take the lead, and they never give it back. But of course, at the end of the game, you have to have it. Everyone loves the 3rd or 4th string quarterback, and Malik Cunningham from U of L runs around, throws the ball, and everyone loves him. But he wasn't given enough time, and it ended up Texans 20, Patriots 9. Next up, the Vikings versus the Seahawks. Honestly, I don't know why you would watch this game if you weren't a fan of either of the teams, but we do see Jalen Reagor with one of his rare catches in the NFL. Then Nick Mullins throws a nice touchdown pass, and the Vikings have the lead at 10-0. Then Drew Lock comes back, he's fighting back, throws a nice dart, but he also has some low lights. There is a reason why Geno got the job and not Drew Lock, and he's intercepted. However, the Vikings offense is not so good, and they have to kick a field goal, and as a Vikings fan, of course, you're used to some tight field goals, however, you're used to them missing it. Then Drew Lock comes back, throws some terrible passes, and every once in a while throws a nice touchdown pass. And then here is potentially the ugliest touchdown pass I've ever seen. He doesn't do anything, no nice form, nothing, just throws it wildly up in the air and kind of lucks into a touchdown, and the Seahawks win 24-13. Next up, the Packers versus the Bengals, and we see Jordan Love play for the first time in a long time after Aaron Rodgers has since left and gone to a better place. And Jordan Love actually looks pretty decent. He makes some good throws. Then, of course, you can tell he's not Aaron Rodgers. Throws some wild passes as well. He also has this great touch pass, which if you're used to fantasy, you love these because these are the freest points that a quarterback can get in fantasy football. But Jordan Love does look legitimately pretty good. He runs around and he throws a nice touchdown pass to take the lead 7-0. And the Packers never stop. They end up winning by a landslide. And it wasn't just the starters or the backups or the 4th stringers. It was an all-around win, and they won 36-19. Then in Detroit, the Lions start off the season not exactly how they'd want to, with an interception right away versus the Giants. And this was a bit of a slugfest with almost no players that you know. And it ended up 14-16. The Lions were driving down the field, and they were able to just sneak it in for the touchdown to win the game over the Giants. And I mean, who doesn't love a QB sneak? And the Lions won with a total score of 21-16. Then in Miami, we see the backups once again just driving down the field, but the Dolphins just can't score a touchdown. They made it to the red zone, and then they threw an interception. But since the Falcons aren't that good, then they're a bad team, they couldn't score a touchdown either. And then we see once again why these players are in the preseason and not in the regular season with a huge sack. Then in the second quarter, the Falcons work their way down the field and do what they do best and run the ball in for the first touchdown of the game. Then once again, the Dolphins almost scored, went for it on 4th down, couldn't. And you just have to hope that Tua would do better than that. And then, you won't believe it, a 3rd time, they made it down within the 10 and couldn't do it again. Then the Falcons keep on doing what they do. If you watched them at all last year, all they do is run. But it worked for this game. They won 19-3 over the Dolphins. Then we have the Steelers versus the Bucs, with Kenny Pickett trying to improve upon his mediocre rookie season, and he does look a lot better. Now, I guess they are playing their starters, and the Bucs weren't playing a ton of starters, but progress is progress, and he has some nice throws on the way down the field. And here he has a 33-yard touchdown, which would be the longest touchdown for the Steelers in 2022. Then on the other side of the ball, Baker Mayfield has secured the job with making easy throws look really hard, and he does work his way down the field and score a touchdown. But the Steelers are showing us why they really need Kenny Pickett to stay healthy, with Mitch Trubisky throwing bad passes, interceptions, and then their fourth stringer, Tanner Morgan, with 2 fumbles and an interception in the game. And it's not like he had a lot of yards. He was 5 for 8 for 36 yards. And he was so bad that he made Mason Rudolph look good. And the game ended 27-17, Steelers win. Next up, we have the defensive struggle of the Washington football team, which is what I'm going to call them because I prefer it, and the Cleveland Browns. So, you might not know it, but these two are actually some of the best defenses in the league, and it did show. However, Deshaun Watson, back from his terrible year last year and suspension, and he was able to work his way down the field and get into the red zone, mainly from running the ball. But they tried for it on 4th, and they couldn't convert turnover on downs. But maybe this was their plan, because the Browns then just get a safety by getting held in the end zone. However, later in the second quarter, the football team's driving down the field, and they have a nice touchdown pass to Dotson. And then Jacoby Brissett gets his revenge with a rushing touchdown, and the Commanders, or football team, win 17-15. Then in Arizona, we see more of what we're used to with the Broncos defense putting up a great stop against the Cardinals, and then Russell Wilson coming in and making terrible passes, just throwing it into the dirt and not being able to score on a terrible team. And if you thought Russell Wilson got better, well, he didn't. He just looks terrible, even in the preseason, against potentially the worst team in the league. But the Broncos defense is still good. And this is where I quickly want to tell you that I think the Cardinals uniforms are terrible. But you can't hold Russell Wilson down for too long. After a quarter and a half, the Broncos are able to score a touchdown. And then with 10 seconds left, the Cardinals are able to score a touchdown. And the Broncos are at risk of losing to the worst team in the league, or at least tying, but there are no ties in the preseason. So the Cardinals go for 2, and they're able to sneak it in, dealing a devastating defeat of 18-17. Colts fans have been really excited to see their brand new quarterback play, and it starts off pretty bad. He throws an interception right away, but it is just due to miscommunication, which I guess could be good or bad. Then the Bills quickly show why they're the good team and the Colts are a bad team, with Cook scoring a rushing touchdown. And then Anthony Richardson comes back on, shows that he has a nice arm and makes a nice pass. And then up next, there's this throw that everybody's talking about. It's a deep pass from Richardson to Pierce, and he dropped it. So Pierce kind of ruined Richardson's rookie preseason game. And the Bills are able to hold on through the rest of the game, and they win it 23-19. Next up is the Titans at the Bears, and Malik Willis shows that he can throw the ball a little bit and run the ball, which we all knew he could do, and he runs in for an early touchdown. Then Justin Fields shows that he can easily throw a 60-yard touchdown just like that. You know, some might say that he only threw it -3 air yards, but in my head, he threw it all 60 yards. And then the next drive, he does it again. He just makes a 50-yard pass look so easy. I mean, you know me, I had to have to put my whole body into it. He can just toss it right there, and then the ball goes all the way into the end zone. And while Malik Willis does look a little bit better, he doesn't look that much better, and Will Levis has looked pretty bad. The Bears win it 23-17. In the first game for Bryce Young, you can kind of tell that he's tiny and he's getting beat up, but he does make some nice passes, nice quick passes. He's not like these other quarterbacks who just hold the ball and get sacked. He is still getting hit and getting crushed, but at least he was getting the ball out. However, it was not enough to actually score. And on one hand, it was bad. On the other hand, the Jets are a really good defense. And even without Aaron Rodgers, they were able to put up a decent amount of points throughout the game, getting to 27 by the end. Next up, you got the golden boy, Trevor Lawrence. Starts off, he throws it deep, interception. So, rough start, but that's okay. You know, Jaguars defense got him, gets a sack, gives the ball back. Unfortunately, the Jaguars have to punt immediately, but it was on purpose because then he fumbles it, and the punt was actually like a long pass. And then the Jaguars get into the red zone, and Doug Peterson is not scared to go for it on 4th down in big situations, such as the first week of the preseason, and they get a touchdown. And then he goes, you know what, I'll go for 2. Next up, this is kind of a game of highlights for the Jaguars, and there's an amazing catch. Then the Cowboys drive down the field. They try to get back in this thing. They're like, I know it's preseason, but I still want to win, sorta, even though we're backups. And the Jaguars just go, nope, you're not going to do it. And this is one of the most amazing passes I've seen in all preseason. So the Jaguars win 28, Cowboys 23. Next up, in Baltimore, the Ravens are at risk of losing their first preseason game over the past 23. They're going for 24, and they have the record. So Swift has a nice run for the Eagles, and they're on a bit of a roll. However, it doesn't work out too great, and they only end up with a field goal. The Ravens then get the ball. They're doing, what Ravens do, which is run the ball even if Lamar's not playing, and they are able to score a quick touchdown. But then Trey Sermon, as everyone knows, amazing Eagles running back, gets it in. But right before halftime, the Eagles let the Ravens get to the 44-yard line, which of course means a 60-yard Justin Tucker field goal, of course. And from there on, the Ravens had the lead in the game. The Eagles did make it interesting with a pick six, but then they decided to go for two, and they did not get it. So the game ends up being 19-20, and they extend their streak to 24 games. In Los Angeles, the backups are playing once again. Of course, Matthew Stafford's not playing because he's old and hurt. And then Justin Herbert just got paid $1 billion, so he's not going to be playing either. But there was a nice punt return for about 80 yards, which let the Chargers go up 13-0. And they just never looked back. They kept on piling on the points, and they ended up winning 34-17. In New Orleans, Derek Carr is looking pretty good in his first drive. They march all the way down the field, and he's able to throw for a touchdown. And then later on, Jameis Winston throws what looks to me like an incomplete pass. But he begged for it, they discussed it, they talked about it for a long time, and they decided touchdown. So I'm sure Des Bryant would like to hear a word, but I don't think this is a catch. To me, this was an incomplete pass. But I don't know. They called it a touchdown, so I guess it's a touchdown. Then the Chiefs score in a play that looks like it was in the Super Bowl with how wide open the wide receiver was. And then their quarterback thinks he's Patrick Mahomes and throws a crazy pass. However, the Saints know that we need to win this. We might not win a lot of games in the regular season. So they rally together and get a touchdown in the fourth, a quick interception, and then a last-second field goal to win the game 26-24. Then in Las Vegas, in the Trey Lance show, where you can actually watch him play, but all you do is you see him get hit and make bad passes. So I can't blame him too much because he is just getting crushed. But the Raiders drive down the field, and they are able to get a quick score. And when the 49ers get the ball back, they just keep on getting hit. But they are able to get into scoring position in the second quarter and have the craziest touchdown pass I've ever seen. It was a terrible pass. It got deflected by the defender, and then he just bats it into the air, and the 49ers just happened to get the touchdown. And it's a good thing they did, because this was their only touchdown of the game, and the Raiders defense proved to be too much. Game ends 34-7. And that was everything important that happened in the first week of preseason. Come back next week to see the second week of the preseason. And if you made it through the video, please leave a like, subscribe, and comment below. And I may be making more of these if they are popular.